yay, oh yay, oh yay. All persons having business before the Honorable, the Supreme Court of the United States, are admonished to give their attention, for the court is now sitting.
The Supreme Court is now back in session for their brand new term, and yes, that's actually what they say when the justices take the bench. After all the controversy we've seen with the court over the last few years, you're probably wondering, or maybe even a little worried, about what the justices are going to be up to this time around. Well, there's definitely some stuff to tell you about, but there's also not a lot of stuff. And I'll explain why in a second. First, I want to thank my subscribers for voting for this story as the bonus this week. If you want to vote too, make sure you subscribe to my page during my next live event, or you can follow these steps and you can subscribe right now. Today, the justices are starting out strong with a controversial case about ghost guns. Today, the justices heard oral arguments over whether the ATF overstepped its authority by creating a new rule back in 2022, which basically redefined ghost guns and made them subject to the same regulations as licensed manufacturers. I told you all about that rule in this video. Now, a handful of gun owners and gun rights groups sued, and a federal judge in Texas and then the conservative Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals blocked the ghost gun rule, saying the ATF did not have the authority to create it. Well, when the Supreme Court agreed to take this case, they overruled the Fifth Circuit and said, no, the ghost gun rule can take effect while this case plays out, at least temporarily. Now, whether that holds, we'll have to wait and see what the justices ultimately rule, likely around June of 2025. Now, I'm going to tell you all about some of the other cases the justices have already agreed to hear, and you're probably going to be interested in a second. But before I do that, I want to address the fact that the justices are, for lack of a better word, keeping their schedule somewhat open. Most likely that's because the justices are anticipating several challenges to the upcoming presidential election before, during, and after November 5th. Because of the constitutional deadlines, those challenges will need to be dealt with quickly so the court isn't overly packing their schedule in November and December. And that's because they want to be able to stay on top of those cases. Now, in addition to those election cases, if former President Trump does not win the election, the court is also anticipating additional challenges from Trump's legal team over all the criminal cases he's facing, from the New York State cases to the federal classified documents case and the federal election interference case. For what it's worth, most experts believe that if former President Trump wins the election, he will make those federal cases disappear. Obviously, presidents cannot make the state cases go away, but the Supreme Court may be able to. It's also worth noting the Supreme Court may also be taking up the TikTok ban early next year. Now, back to some of the other cases on the docket in this 2024-2025 term. The justices will hear a case about whether the FDA has unfairly blocked the marketing of flavored vape pens, whether the state of Texas has violated a person's free speech rights by requiring them to verify their age before viewing pornography, whether the states have the right to ban gender-affirming care for minors, and whether Mexico can hold U.S. gun makers liable for the violence caused by the Mexican drug cartels.